tonight for the next lineup in our series. If you're interested, you can go to the Museum of Discovery and Science YouTube channel and watch the whole series, years worth of them. You can binge them all, learning all about shark researchers across the world doing really amazing work. Of course, we couldn't do any of this without the support of the Save Our Seas Foundation. So thank you very much to the Save Our Seas Foundation for making tonight's talk possible, but the entire series possible. We are very appreciative of that. If you ever find yourself in sunny South Florida, as I have described it, feel free to stop in at the museum. We would love to have you. Here's a picture of our wonderful place. Our mission here is to connect people to inspiring science, and we do that every day. Over the course of a year, we'll see 500,000 people come through our doors. And we concentrate on 4 sort of strategic educational pillars, right? Educating on physical sciences, the early childhood education, health and wellness, and then environmental sustainability. That's us. That's tonight. That's our talk tonight is going to be all about that and how we can learn more about the ocean, use science to answer questions that are still unsolved about sharks, right? Tonight, we are bringing in Dr. Lara Fola-Matthews. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Dr. Lara Fola-Matthews is a marine biologist at the Nigerian Institute for Oceanography and Marine Research. Tonight, we are going to Nigeria, everyone. Pretty awesome. Her research focuses on conservation and management of the ocean and its resources. She recently completed her PhD, congratulations, from the University of Lagos in Nigeria, where she studied extensively on sharks off the southwestern coast of Africa using various tools such as DNA barcoding, stable isotopes, genetic analysis, and local ecological knowledge, contributing to improved assessments of data deficient populations and sustainable management strategies. She uses her skill in community engagement to translate science into real changes, which improve compliance with conservation measures. She is a Rising Tide Mentorship Program Fellow and an author of one of the chapters in the Minorities in Shark Sciences book, Diverse Voices in Shark Research. She also leads the Shark Smart Nigeria and is the co-founder of 3.5 Oceans, a marine education and conservation initiative. Lara is a steward for sustainable fishing practices and shark conservation with a passion to assist ongoing efforts to create a plan of action for sharks in Nigeria. Lara, we're so happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Lance.
Yes, it sounds like you're a busy person.
Okay, yes, sort of. A lot of work in our hand. There's a lot of gap here. That's a deficiency, so there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, you're one of many speakers that we've had in this year's series from Africa. There's so much amazing work happening, especially on the western coast of the continent, and we love hearing all of these science is happening and all the community work that's happening in that area. So, like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about your project in hammerhead sharks. We're talking about hammerheads tonight. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen, you can take us away and start your presentation. But I'll remind our guests that, if you guys have questions tonight, please feel free to ask, put them into the chat, send me your questions directly to me, and I will see them and then ask them on your behalf. Of course, as we go through, there will be an opportunity at the very end for a dedicated Q&A session. All right. So, yeah, Lara. Please.
Okay. Yeah.
We can see your
Okay,
screen.
so thank you very much, Lance, for that detailed introduction about the work I'm doing in Nigeria on shark conservation. Thank you very much also for this platform to share the little bits I have been doing, and with my team on shark conservation in Nigeria. And then also I want to give a big shout out at this moment to the Save Our Seas Foundation for the generous funding to be able to conduct this research on landing ecological knowledge on Hammerhead's shark in Nigeria. So we're grateful to the Save Our Seas Foundation and all that they do. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so I was like, you said a lot about what I do, so I'll just go straight to the point now and just say a little about myself and my childhood. So just like myself and every other, I believe, young generation in our time, we all have heard about sharks in various ways, from culture, from beliefs, from different, as in sharks were exposed. Sharks are literally in our face every day with different kind of information about them. And in the culture, I remember growing up, we used to have this statement that that if you get injured in the sea and a drop of blood falls into the ocean, that all the sharks will come to that direction. A lot of sharks, a drop of blood. And then this is actually true because the sharks are very, very sensitive to smell. But then I think it's exaggerated, just a single drop of blood in the mighty ocean to bring all the sharks. So these are statements we grew up, hearing about sharks. And also in the pop media was always in our faces too. Like I grew up, I watched my younger years, I watched Jaws, and then many other movies that had, the shark in it. And then I remember, the action part of the movies when the shark is coming, with his dorsal fin, coming to the ship and to wreak havoc and all those kind of things. So those are kind of information that is in our database for sharks. And also, I love animations like Shark Tales, this were Kama, Finding Nemo. So literally, sharks were, we all know about sharks. But if I knew at that time, at my younger years, that in years to come, I'll be researching on sharks, I would say, wow. So here I am, I find myself here today researching about this iconic species. My research for sharks started about 8 years ago, and it was my PhD journey. Because I remember speaking with my advisor, trying to create a research plan to design my plan for my PhD studies. And I told him I wanted something that has an inclusion of science and conservation together, because my major at the time was fisheries management. And he advised me that, we have to look for a fisheries that has a gap. You need to find a fisheries that is data deficient. And he suggested that why not elasmobranchs? Go and look into it, go and read literatures on it. So I went back, took some few months, read really deep about elasmobranchs. And I kid you not, I fell in love with the species. I developed keen interest at that point, and I went back to him. And I'm like, I'm ready to work on the elasmobranchs. So I was like, no. You're going to choose a section, because I have other students that will come in and take other sections too. So I picked the sharks. And then during the literature review, reading about it, I read a lot of journals about different works that have been done in other parts of the world. And then I learned about the IPOA sharks at that time. That's like 8 years ago. That's the International Plan of Action on International Plan of Action on Sharks. And they have these 10 aims, like 10 goals that any nation that wants to develop their shark plan should at least follow. And I remember writing out that shark plan, which is what is showing on my screen now. And I said to myself, if I can achieve about maybe 30% or 40% of these aims, I know that I have contributed my quota to shark conservation in Nigeria. So that's me there holding my pits, the Hammerhead shark.
That's a really interesting set of rules that I've never seen that before. It's really clear, right?
Yeah, very clear, and it's online.
Yeah.
Google IPOA sharks, the aims, it's there, and it has been my mission statement, like vision, what I want to follow in shark research. So I'll be guided by the following outline. So the objective of the study was to let me take this here. So the objective of the study was to increase awareness of the hammerhead shark conservation, hammerhead shark conservation amongst fisher folks and coastal community dwellers, to enhance capacity of fisher folks to adopt sustainable fishing practices, to strengthen partnerships between researchers, policymakers, and communities, and to also promote long-term stewardship for shark population monitoring. So the sharks belong to the class chondrichthyes, and beautifully enough, they have existed for about 450 million years ago, and that's a very, very long time. And that's before the dinosaurs, before the trees, and before the wonderful humans. So they've been here for a very, very long time. And even in our actions and inactions, these species have stood the test of time to just, stay there. And despite the pressure, climate, and all that, they're still trying, they're striving to, be there. And the best we can do is to put our own efforts to make sure that there's survival of this species, so that we won't have a situation when we grew up and they were telling us about, this species of dinosaurs, that there are no more. We didn't meet the dinosaurs, but we just heard their stories. There is this Rex, there is this Rex, but we never met them. So this should not be the story for sharks in generations to come for us. So I pray that the situation improves. The conjunctival fishes are divided into two groups. That's the elasmobranchs, and the elasmobranchs consist of the sharks and the rays, while the holocephalans are the chimeras. And as of 2021, 1,282 species of conjunctians have been identified. And this includes 1,226 elasmobranchs. Within the elasmobranchs, we have 537 shark species, 689 battoids, that's the rays, the ray-like species, and 56 holocephalans. The chimeras are not normally plenty because most of the time, most of the species they dwell at the bottom of the ocean, the demersal species. So sharks are one of the most, this data of 2021, it's been updated as of 2025. So more species have been discovered and added to, but I don't have the specific numbers as of now. So sharks are one of the world's most threatened vertebrate groups, and this is because majorly of their case-selected life history traits. And this case-selected life history trait just puts them at more disadvantage for survival. And these traits include the fact that it takes them a long time to attain sexual maturity, just like humans that we get to teenage age to get to sexual maturity. And then also, when they get to sexual maturity, when they get pregnant, so because we can use the word pregnant for sharks, their gestation period is even longer than that of humans. So you see, they invest a lot in maternal investment is very high, just like humans do. And then when they give birth to their pups, they give birth to relatively few pups. And we know that once these pups are out, they are already prey to some other predators. So chances that even these pups will survive, it's not really high compared to bony fishes that, produce a lot of eggs in the ocean. So these are reasons why sharks are at more threat than any other fisheries in the world.
Yeah, just a quick note, that case-selected, that's for those of you that are studying ecology, maybe you'll learn case-selected species versus R-selected species. So compared to, like, I don't know, a rabbit, say, who has lots of young, really young early in its life, right? Sharks are the opposite of that, right? That's what you were saying.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so in Africa, so let's look at what's happening in fisheries in Africa. There are about 260 species, of which 79 species are endemic to us. And in total, 44 countries report landings from the marine waters of Africa, ranging from large commercial fisheries to artisanal fishing. And these fisheries access about 32,350 kilometers of coastline, with more than 440,000 vessels of all types. And in the reporting of the world, the shark in African waters, conjunctians have only 5% of the total world landings. And I want to believe that these figures should be relatively more than that, should be more than 5%. But we have a lot of unregulated fishing that are not, accounted for. The data is not, so effective. So a lot of catch goes unreported, and that reduces, the reported catch. Now coming home to Nigeria. Nigeria is a country in West Africa, and it's bordered to the west by Benin, to the north by Niger, and to the east by Chad and Cameroon. And our Atlantic coastline is quite lengthy, which is a good advantage for us. It's about 853 kilometers with an EEZ, that's the exclusive economic zone, of 200 nautical miles. And good news for us, of recent, we added 20 extra miles. So now we are on, our EEZ is 220 nautical miles. And we share joint maritime zone with Sao Tome and Principe. Nigeria's coastal waters host diverse shark species. And the map on my screen shows the map of Nigeria, and the highlights in pink showing the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, the Niger Delta regions. The Niger Delta regions are the most diverse with biodiversity, not only sharks, they are rich in biodiversity in the country. And that's obvious because they are just by the Atlantic Ocean. The communities are by the Atlantic Ocean. So we have Ondo, we have Delta State, we have Bayelsa State, we have River State, we have Akwa Ibom State, and we have Cross River State. So this by countries that land more than 10,000 tons of sharks annually. And between 1995 to 2004, Nigeria produced about 115,560 metric tons of shark, which increased steadily to about 130,739 tons. That's between 2005 and 2014. And despite this high catch rate, and despite the fact that Nigeria is a top shark fishing nation, we have little management plans in place for sharks. For example, our statistics shows sharks as elasmobranchi and radiformis. That's sharks and ray. That's our record. So all sharks species goes into elasmobranchi, and all ray species goes into radiformis. So this becomes very, very challenging when you want to make management plans per species. For example, if I want to work on hammerhead shark, I cannot get the statistics of what has been going on in the past, how many tons was caught previous years, maybe 10 years back, 5 years back. I can't get a particular figure for species-specific management plan. And so we're working on that anyway to increase, the database of sharks in Nigeria. So due to this reason, there is a need for integrated conservation strategies by combining science, education, and local capacity building. So this figure shows the top 26 shark fishing countries, areas, and territories between 2000 and 2009. The green bars represents countries that have adopted the NPOA shark. The NPOA means the National Plan of Action. It comes from the International Plan of Action, and the NPOA is more regional. Like each country that are shark fishing nations that are regarded as shark fishing nations by the FAO ought to have the NPOA in place. So the bars showing the yellow bars, the countries that represent the yellow bars are those that their NPOA sharks are in preparation. And why those that are in red are nations that the status of their sharks are unknown and have not prepared an NPOA for sharks yet. And unfortunately, I highlighted with green to show Nigeria, as at that time, Nigeria was on the red bar. But I want to believe if this was reviewed now, again, of recent, I believe would have graduated to the yellow bar because work is in progress on conservation in Nigeria. So this is just an evidence to prove that sharks are exploited actively in Nigeria. This is an excerpt from a newspaper, sorry about that, from a newspaper publication. So it's this is blocking my view. Let me minimize it. All right. Okay. So I'll be reading directly from the excerpt. It says custom intercepts dried shark fins, donkey genitals worth 1.23 billion naira in Lagos, and 1.23 billion naira is equivalent to about $850,000 US, and that's quite a lot of money. And this is in 2023. The report was by Oladejo. So I will read directly. It says, from the number of things we have here, the implication is that we have over 1,000 sharks that have been endangered. we cannot go on with this illegal trade because at the end of the day, it would be a problem for us. Animals in the sea have a role they play. Endangering them will affect the ecosystem. And for us officers at the National Nigerian Customs Service, we would always make sure that these items under export prohibition, list cannot go out quickly. And he also noted that the suspect intercepted for the shark fins was a Nigerian, and the item was heading to China, while that of the donkey genitals was a Chinese citizen, and it was heading to Hong Kong. So now to hammerheads. So hammerheads are more distinct and easier to identify than the other sharks because of their cephalofoil. And then there are, amongst the hammerhead family, there are different species too that they have different species as well, which some of them are listed in the picture to the left. So the picture to my right shows the trend created by the IUCN, that's the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And it goes from the green, that's the least concern, near threatened, which are still under the least concern. Then we have the vulnerable species, endangered species, and critically endangered species, and they are grouped as threatened species. And then we have a stage that's not good at all, that's the extinction in the wild, and then the final extinction. So for most, almost all species of hammerhead shark belong to the threatened species group. That means it's either they're critically endangered, or they are endangered, or they are vulnerable. And this is because their fins are the most valuable in the shark fin market. And also other conditions that affect sharks, such as used for their flesh used as meat, used for drug research. I think there was a time that there was this speculation that sharks could cure cancer, since they don't get cancer, so the cartilage of the shark can cure cancer. The liver oil in the shark. So almost all parts of a shark is exploited. All parts of a shark is very important. So I'll be focusing on these three species for now. That's the great hammerhead shark, the Sphrena mocaran, the scalloped hammerhead shark, the Sphrena lewinii, and the smooth hammerhead shark, that's the Sphrena zygena. Now, in the species of sharks, hammerhead sharks that are presently in Nigeria, that during my research at the southwest of Nigeria, the only one that I encountered was the scalloped hammerhead, that's the Sphrena lewinii. But in the 2025 report by Williams, he mentioned, he did a list of all the shark species that have been present in the past in Nigeria. And these three sharks were there. But unfortunately, I have not seen for the past 8 years that I worked in the Southwest, all the shark species that I've been coming across is the scalloped hammerhead. And I'm trying to understand why these other species are not coming anymore. But I can't conclude because it's not as if other zones of the country has been explored. So I cannot just conclude that, oh, maybe there are no more in our waters. Also, this the Lewinis have been gotten, even after the morphological identification, we went further to confirm their identification with DNA barcoding, and it came out Sphrena lewinii. So we are just sure that all the ones we've been collecting off the southwest of Nigeria has been Sphrena lewinii. Also, I have citizen scientists that when they see sharks, they take the pictures, these hammerhead sharks, and send to me. And when I identify to still the Sphrena lewinii. So how do we identify this amongst these three hammerhead sharks? Because morphologically they look the same. So they identify the species differentiation is with the rostrum, and that's with the cephalofoil. So for example, the great hammerhead shark has a straight rostrum. The scalloped hammerhead shark has 2 round lobes and a midline in the rostrum, while the smooth hammerhead shark has just 1 round lobe to the rostrum. So that is what we use to identify between these 3 sharks. Also, a more in-depth identification is with the teeth. The great hammerhead shark has stronger, bigger, tougher teeth, and that's because of its feeding habits, because it feeds on relatively large sharks, rays, big fishes, and the rest of it. While the scalloped hammerhead shark and the smooth hammerhead shark, they will feed on smaller fishes, crustaceans, fishes, etc., etc. So now coming down to the scalloped hammerhead shark, like I call it my pet. So even from the picture, you can see the two lobes to the midline from the center, the two lobes, and the two lobes to the other end. So that confirms that that is Spina lewini. So looking at the conservation status by IUCN for Spina lewini, it's already critically endangered. And the onus is on us scientists to make sure it does not get to the extinct in the wild. Rather, like a number line, we want it to go to the positive side. That's to move towards a better, status. Also, for the hammerhead shark, which is a good news, it's listed under CITES Appendix 2. That means that international trade on hammerhead shark is highly regulated. So some scientific fun facts of the scalloped hammerhead shark. The scalloped hammerhead sharks have one of the largest brain to body ratios of any shark. They also have 360 degrees vision, which is a good eyesight for them. And then their average body length ranges between 3 to 20 feet. And then 20 feet is just about the size of the modern Toyota Corolla car. So that's how long it is. And then it weighs between 30 to 1,000 pounds. Unlike most sharks, Spina lewini is highly social. And it's often found forming large schools, up to 100. And also it forms schools that are sex segregated and size structured. So I want to link this largest brain to body ratio with this social skill. I believe that because they have a better developed brain, they are able to develop social skills amongst themselves, which is not the same for other sharks, because it's true, amas mostly move in schools. And they are found worldwide, but they prefer the tropical and warm temperate oceans worldwide. Their gestation period, that's the time they get pregnant to delivery, is between 8 to 12 months, while their lifespan, that's their natural mortality, if there is no predator or fishing mortality or any kind of mortality, is between 20 to 30 years. Now they have their electroreceptive pores called the ampullae of Lorenzini, which are widely spread across the cephalophore. And like the first statement I made about cultural belief, that we said if a drop of blood enters the water, the sharks will come. So this is because of the ampullae of Lorenzini that helps the sharks to locate sound, smell easily. So the picture in the slide shows hammers as they are navigating their way towards an odor source. They are following the plume to get to the source. They will move left, right, until they are able to navigate that. And I want to also, I want to assume that the hammerhead sharks will have a stronger sense of smell than maybe relatively higher than other sharks, because they have more surface area because of their elongated rostrum to accommodate more of the pores. So it could be for something. So apart from, we also did for the research, we did some aspects of the biology of the hammerhead shark. We selected states in the southwestern region of Nigeria that were in close proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. That was the first objective, those in the Niger Delta region. And the major craft that was used to get these fishes, because we had artisanal fishery, was the Ghana boats. It's called Ghana boats here, but it's the dugout plank canoes, and it ranges between the length of 12 to 20 meters. The site selection was based on where there's aggregation of shark fishing families, where there's a preliminary information on catch volume and species diversity of the catches in the area. The outboard booster engines of about 15 to 45 horsepower is what carries the Ghana boat, and it depends on the size of the canoe. The set gill nets, traps, and large meshed shark drift nets were the gears that were employed mostly by the fishers. So the map in the slide shows the areas, the sampling areas that was used for the study. So for laboratory work, we tried to understand the trophic biology by ranging the intersect classes, the newborn, the young, the small, medium, and large, for easier analysis. We try to understand the feeding intensity, that's the level of the vacuity index and the fullness index. We analyze the prey items using primary indices, that's the percentage by number, percentage by occurrence, percentage by frequency. We also used the secondary indices to analyze the prey items, and we use the IRR, the index of relative importance. Also, the Amundsen feeding strategy of 1996 was used to understand whether it was a generalist feeder or a specialist feeder. And also we were able to deduce the trophic level from the primary indices. We also studied the growth pattern to understand the length-weight relationships, the condition factor, the growth determination using the von Bettler-Nafi growth function. We studied the growth performance index, the mortality determination, that's natural mortality, the fishing mortality, the total mortality. And then we also estimated the exploitation ratio from the fishing mortality and the total mortality. So apart from sciences, we did some conservation works, also local ecological work, that's like more of social sciences. So we used the local ecological knowledge approach to understand the shark fisheries. So I would be guided by this short outline. That's the introduction, community-based shark fisheries monitoring using the LEC. So I shortened the local ecological knowledge to the LEC, capacity building for coastal fishers and local institutions, conservation education and awareness outreach, and promoting alternative livelihood. So for the introduction part, we will try to understand the cultural and economic importance of shark to the coastal communities. To the coastal communities, these sharks are very, very important. For example, if a fisher goes to fish and he comes back with maybe the small bony fishes, and he has he lands one shark in his net, he values that shark more than the small fishes, because probably they sell at a higher rate than what they will sell the bony fishes. Also for cultural belief, there are some cultural beliefs that we studied concerning this species. This particular early case survey was done in Port Harcourt, Bayelsa, and in Bayelsa too. And then I was made to understand that because we got to a particular location after Nimbe local government, that's at Bayelsa. The name of that place was Twon Community, TWON, and they don't catch sharks in that area. They worship sharks. It's like their god. They worship them. And this is real because this is 2025. This picture I took is this year 2025. So they worship the sharks. And then if you don't know about it and maybe by accident you catch a shark in their water, they would make you to bury the shark. And burying the shark, like in my culture in Nigeria, if a person dies and is of age, like as advanced in age, maybe 90, 100, this family will celebrate that life by refreshments, food, water, drinks, wine, and all that. So they will make that person that caught that shark to bury the shark and refresh the community. The person will spend a lot of money to make refreshments just for catching the shark because they revere the shark in that region. And somehow to me, it's a win-win because it helps the conservation of sharks in that region. So it's a good one for conservationists anyway. So also the local ecological knowledge helped us to get information on data-limited fishery system. Like I mentioned earlier that in Nigeria, we don't have a record online of a lot of past work that has been done on sharks. And I actually felt that when I was trying to write my discussion in my thesis, because I wanted, after comparing my work to works abroad of work that have been done abroad, I needed to compare my research to what has been done in Nigeria, and I couldn't get much work. So these people were very important. I actually do call them the MVPs of conservation because they are the key players, especially if you know how to navigate your ways around them, you get a lot of data from them. Like this sharks in the picture is a smoked shark sold in the market. Obviously from there you can see it's a shark because it's a small size shark and it's still in shape. But sometimes when the sharks are big, they put them in chunks, in smaller chunks, and then they smoke. At that time, you can't really know what's the shape of shark is it, or even if it's a shark. So sometimes when I go to educate students, I ask them a question, have you eaten sharks before? They all say, no. And I'm like, you probably must have eaten it because when your mom goes to the market, sometimes she buys a fish that is smoked in chunks, and you don't know if you must have eaten sharks along the way. Then also there, it's me, yours truly, in the fishing community here in Port Harcourt. And then I waited for the fishers, and when he came back with these sharks. I tried to ask questions, I tried to buy it. He said it was not for sale. As a nosy researcher that I am, I was asking, okay, if you're not selling it, who are you selling it for? Trying to see the trade route. He said it's not selling it. Are you eating it as in your family, like you want to consume it in the family? he just like he's not going to answer my questions. But it was like he can allow me to take tissue samples, fin clips, as long as it's going to afford the shark and I can take the shot. Because I didn't go back home with those sharks. So community-based shark fisheries using local ecological knowledge approach. So the study was carried out in Bayelsa State in Nigeria. 2 local government areas were selected, the Nembe local government area and the Brass local government area. The primary data were collected using a structured questionnaire deployed through the Kobo Collect technology. It was administered by trained agricultural extension agents of the Bayelsa State Agricultural Development Program. The data analysis from the app was analyzed using descriptive analysis, descriptive statistics, frequencies, percentages, means chart, and the chi-square test. And 124 shark fishers were interviewed for this research. So the picture to my right is showing the interface that we use of the Kobo Collect app. And then one of my member of my team conducting interviews with the fishers. And the questions that we asked on the app were the demographics of the fishers, the diversity of sharks in the area, the abundance of sharks, the distribution of sharks, the catch frequency for each catch, the changes in shark population in the past compared to now, the taboos and beliefs, the seasonality, the fishing operations, fishing experience, the trade route, and the livelihood of fishers. Also, we did capacity building for fishers, citizen societies, and local institutions. We trained on species identification because that's always one of the challenging parts, even for fisheries managers. And that's why even sometimes they don't record the statistics that it aggregates that's always recorded in aggregate, because sometimes they don't know how to, identify the sharks, because shark species, apart from the hammerheads, they look alike and they are different to tell apart, except if you have experience and you've been, monitoring them. So we did a little training on species identification. Also, apart from sharks, we talked about sustainable use of the ocean. Then for the fishers, we discussed about workshops. We did workshops on sustainable fishing techniques. We talked about what the sea turtle has, that it has this turtle excluder device, the TED, that could there be something for the sharks? And yes, we realized that there's the sharks bycatch reduction device. Because something the shark fishers used to say is that when they go to fish, like the artisanal fishermen, their target sometimes is not to catch the sharks. They are going for their normal fishing. But sometimes it comes as bycatch, because the fishes the fishers are trying to catch is also the food, the meal for the sharks. So sometimes it may not even be its region where it stays, it may not be its permanent habitat. It may just have come to feed at that time and it was caught in the net amongst other fishes. So I'm like, okay, so when it comes in your net, why don't you take it back? They're like, because most of the time the sharks are dead. Because they struggle a lot in the net, they're entangled, they struggle. So by the time you land them, they're already dead. So why throw them back in the ocean when you can make some money that will compensate for the effort on your fuel and your time as a fisher? So we are wondering, okay, could there be tools that will reduce these things? And then we talked about tools like some modified gill nets that will use sound sometimes that will deter the sharks away. Also, there are some magnetic tools that were made that would irritate the sharks, but due to the electroreceptors that the AOL, the ampullae of the residue. So I believe that if more awareness is made in this area, maybe if we can have those tools, those fishers, and they learn how to implicate it, and there's compensation for them as well too, maybe that will reduce the bycatch for these sharks. Then on a lighter note, when I was training some youths on citizen scientists on how to take data, I gathered youths from the university and also youths from the community, coastal communities that at least were a bit educated. I gathered them and we had a talk on the regiments of citizen scientists. And on the lighter note, one of the students asked me that when they said a shark scientist was coming to engage them, they were thinking somebody strong, somebody looking muscular, red-eyed, hard-looking, and then they were surprised to see me. And unfortunately for them, I'm even small in frame. I'm quite petite. So they're like, what? And I'm like, please, there are no stereotypes for shark fishing, shark scientists. If you want to be a shark scientist, there are no stereotypes at all. You can just come as you are and be a shark scientist. And I told them, even after this engagement, I have a nail appointment to go and fix my nails, so that you know that there is no stereotype as being a shark researcher. So it was always fun engaging these students, fishers, youths, and all of that. So also the young learners are not left out. We also did school outreach programs. We made it fun. We made it for their stage, something that they would understand, that they would easily grasp, and they are always very excited when we bring a shark along, a shark sample, because most of the time they just see it on TV. They've never really seen it, even though it's not alive, but they've never really seen it even in that form. So they're always excited. The whole school is excited. Oh, we saw sharks today. We saw sharks, and it's beautiful because in the whole little, apart from talking about sharks, we talk about plastic pollution. We talk about climate change. We talk about a lot of things, and I know that even the awareness is already created in them at a very early age. So normally when we go to schools like that, we entertain them with the baby shark tune, baby shark. They're already excited, they're happy, so they don't even know that they are learning in between the fun that they're having. So, and then also we try to develop educational materials for them. Then lastly, we try to talk about promoting alternative livelihoods so that the fishers will not be over dependent on shark fishing, because we always try to let the shark fishers know that we fisheries managers, we are their friends. We are not against them. Like for example, if you study an area and you realize that you need to make conservation strategies on it, so for example, maybe a marine protected area, you see that there will be conflict of interest with the shark fishers there. Because it'll be like, so what do you want us to survive on if you close this place for 3 months? Not knowing that at the end of 3 months, they are still the ones to, benefit from that strategy. So we also try to promote alternative livelihood, like they should have some other things to do. So here we're learning, especially the wives of the fishers, how to make everyday use home products in the house. The ones I highlighted in the red, we didn't do that. But there are things that we plan to, that we think they would work to, like skill training for their youth, boat repairs, artisanal crafts, modernized fish smoking modernization for them to learn some other skills, and also access to microfinance and cooperative saving systems. In conclusion, this finding reveals significant declines in shark population, largely driven by overfishing, pollution, climate change. The screen has covered this place. Climate change effects, and weak enforcement of existing regulation, as well as limited community awareness. By integrating the observations and experiences of fishers with scientific assessment, the research provides a cost-effective and context-specific framework for monitoring and the management of sharks. Oh, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I paused it. Uh-oh. Oh.
Oh, it closed. That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I'm able to.
There's a little button that says resume slideshow.
Can you see my slide?
It's okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So anyway, that was even the end conclusion. Okay, and this one of the youths that we trained as a client, and she's very, very excited about sharks. You can see the look on her face. So that's the first time she would see a physical shark. So I want to use this moment to appreciate you, the listeners. I want to appreciate all those that have collaborated with me in one way or the other for the past years of shark research. I want to specifically thank the NEJEC Lab. I want to thank Jim Doe of IRD. I want to thank Kenza Imrech. I would not live without thanking Jasmine, Jada, Armani, and Carly, yes, the 4 founders of the Minorities of Shark Tank. The Minorities of Shark Tank, I have a lot of shark friends there, and they have been a wonderful platform for me in shark research, for international conferences, of the conferences that I've gone to talk about my research, mostly funded by them, and I'm very grateful for the wonderful group that they have created. And it's free to join the Minorities of Shark Fisheries. Also, the diverse if you want to learn more about my research, I was a chapter author also in the diverse voices in conservation across the globe. So you can online and pick up the book. There are offices in Florida, you can pick up the book there as well. Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. It's awesome. It sounds like you're doing such amazing work, especially with involving the community, and the skill training. That's such a cool thing to do. Of course, if we're asking these communities to not catch sharks anymore, then how are they going to make a living, right? So doing the skill training is a really holistic way to approach the topic of not only research but conservation, right, of these species. So kudos to you and your team for doing such wonderful things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. We had a few questions come in while you were talking. Let's see. Yeah. So if anyone has questions, feel free to put them into the chat. You can send them to me directly. But you talked about some of the protections with, especially with hammerhead sharks. They are a member of the CITES thing, and that limits international trading, right? You're not supposed to trade these products. So the question kind of centers around if these provisions and these treaties exist, how are they enforced? Are they enforced? What are the challenges to what happens if you catch someone with heading to China, as you were saying, with a load of scalloped hammerhead sharks? What happens, and how do they enforce those provisions?
Okay. So I know that even when the rules and regulations are made, it's now less for individual regions to enforce their own particular part. I know of countries that I have heard of, which is actually real, that people have had jail time. They've gone to jail for sharks, for catching. I think they were recreational fishers and they caught sharks and all that, and they went to jail for it. So it depends on the strength. Now it's now on each nation to strengthen their borders, their custom services to be trained, because you can be surprised. Thank God for that excerpt I showed. I was happy when I saw that. So it shows that our custom services are active and they are aware.
Right.
That is happening. But you can be surprised that some customs officers don't even know about it. So when these laws are made, there should be in-house, training. Let all major stakeholders that will be involved, especially the customs. The customs are very strong in terms of border control. So let them be involved. Let them understand. Let them even know they should even know how to identify sharks.
Yeah.
Funny enough, even though they are not scientists, they should know. They should know this is that. So I think it's left to each country to strengthen their enforcement.
Right. Yeah, and education, right, for everyone to know that don't catch these, don't trade these species. That's really interesting. You're doing a lot on the education front to talk with local communities and things. So a question that just came in is how do you measure the effect of education for the local communities and the people that are out there fishing? How do you plan to see if it's successful?
Okay, that's a beautiful one, and I think it's social science, like monitoring and evaluation, kind of
right.
like is this effective? What we actually do, or we're just making noise, taking pictures. So I think it's good. I haven't actually done that to my work. I can also collaborate with some social scientists to help me. I think there are tools they use to measure those things, how effective they are. So I could collaborate with the social scientists. They could help let me know the term tools that will be used.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always any sort of scientific investigation and conservation effort. There's always like the next thing, right?
Yeah. There's always the next thing. So thank you for that. That could be a next thing. That's even a thing. Research on its own. That what's the efficiency of capacity building, education outreach. It's a work. It's a research on its own. Thank you.
Yeah. And how you're doing all this great work, and how willing is the community to take part in the education or take part in the
Mhm.
the alternative skill sharing, training sort of thing, and conserve sharks. I mean, it sounds like there's definitely one community that you described as them worshiping sharks. I imagine they don't go out and catch them willingly, but how willing is the rest of the community um, to work with you?
Okay, so remember, I call these people the MVPs of conservation, and I know why
Yeah.
I call them, because you just have to find the balance with them, the strategy with them, because sometimes,
Mhm.
in all honesty, they can be very difficult. I remember the first few years, like say 6 years back, when I started this, um, going to the community to speak with them. I Sometimes I come back frustrated, and
Mhm.
I learned on the job how to get what I want from them by also adding value back to them. When they realize you're coming
Mhm.
and you're not bringing anything back in terms of finances, in terms of value, you won't get anything from them. So I can give an instance, and I really don't want you to laugh. When I used to go before, I think, sometimes when you get funding, sometimes they put in place, souvenirs for them, because, when you gather them, you want to speak with them, you're taking out of their fishing time, and that's their money for that day that you're taking. So when you go there and you don't hold anything, after a while, when they study the atmosphere, that's because they're looking around, like it's like there's nothing doing in the share. They go back and they won't share any information with you. And then I was, this one way direction, like there could be things, but I will leave them in the trunk.
Mhm.
That's okay. The most important thing is what I want to talk about here.
Right.
So serious and everything. And in this ones, the fishers have looked around and like, looks like there's nothing. And you see them going, just reducing the numbers. And I'm like, no, we need this data. We need this. And they're
Right.
not responding. Then I learned on the job and I learned to strategize. For example, when I'm coming, I have somebody in-house set up a canopy for me, get me a DJ, let music play. So as a DJ, as the music is playing, Nigerians, we love music, we love
Yeah.
social. As the music is playing, they're coming out like, what's happening? Although they've been informed ahead that something I'm coming to talk, but sometimes they're not interested in this stuff because it's not bringing anything to them. They don't want to get it. So when you
Right.
start getting the music and you see me, I have a big table. I'm going to the trunk. I'm bringing out intentionally. I'm bringing out the gifts, the souvenirs. I'm dancing.
The
I'm bringing out
swag, right? Yes.
so they can see that yes, there's something in it for you. So
Right.
the tone of those changes because they are waiting and they won't leave because they know at the end of the day I'm going to share. So I will take my time and have everything that I want and then share. So if you want the cooperation, they're actually if they sit down to listen to you, that you are not of any harm, and I keep telling them we are together because sometimes they're
Mhm.
scared, especially when it comes to sharks. They are scared that probably you are an enforcement agency and you're coming for them. So you
Right.
just need to calm them down. And they have information because these are the people that live practically at the coast. They live by the water.
Right.
From their huts where their settlements, they see the ocean ahead. They hear the waves. So I am a researcher. Once I'm done, sometimes the max I can stay in an area, maybe a week or two, and I'm back again to where I stay. But
Right.
they can understand the ocean dynamics, the changes. They see everything as real time.
Right. It's
So
part of their life, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so they have information. They
Right.
really do have information. So it's just to let them know. First of all, you have to attract them before you even let them know because they won't even listen to what you have to say until you bring them
Right.
close. Oh, there's something in it for you. Just have to let
Mhm.
them know there's something, and then
And
they love.
working with them, right? You're not
Yes, and being
just
transparent.
talking to them. You're bringing them in
Yeah.
and welcoming them. Yeah.
And they love
Um,
transparency.
yeah.
That you are being sincere.
That's great.
Transparent.
Yeah. It's interesting how you had to pivot a little bit to adapt to get them in.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a DJ, right? I mean, come on. Well, just in our last few minutes, if you wouldn't mind just sharing, like, how can people keep in touch with what you're doing? Can we follow you anywhere on social media or anything
Okay.
to
Yeah.
keep track?
Okay. Yeah. I'm active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Lara Fola-Matthews, my name. It's on LinkedIn. I don't know how. Okay, let me see if I can share my maybe see. I can share my link to.
Oh yes,
Okay.
yeah. You can put it in the chat if you'd like.
Okay, okay, I could do that. And then after my PhD, that's earlier this year, I took some time to rest and I asked myself, what exactly is the next step? So that was when the inception of the 3.5 Ocean started. So it's co-founded by a friend of mine too that is a passionate and enthusiast about the oceans and sharks. And so we are still at the beginning stage, it's been a hurdle, trying to register the company and try to, do all of that. And we're also trying to get more like funding to be able to, let the team move because we have a team. But when we have funds, then we can do projects, we can take projects. So
Right.
something we started. So we're trying to create a website for it, 3.5 Ocean. So that's somewhere that can reach me. Then on LinkedIn too as well.
LinkedIn, 3.5 Ocean.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much for sharing your project with us, taking us to your little corner of the world and showing us the amazing work that you're up to.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming and doing that. If those of you that are interested, join us next time. Next time in a few weeks, November 20th, we're going to Taiwan
Wow.
to learn from Kevin Wang, Associate Professor of Fisheries Science at the Virginia Institute for Marine Science, learning about guitarfish of Taiwan. So you can go to the MODS website, mods.org/STEM Learning Series, or scan that QR code and you can register now. And of course, you can view the whole series on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the Museum of Discovery Science YouTube channel. And thanks again to the Save Our Seas Foundation for making it possible. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Dr. Lara, bye.
Thank you very much for this.
It was so nice. Thank you so much.
I had fun. I literally had fun. And I've shared my link to my LinkedIn on the chat.
Great. That
Thank
sounds
you.
great.
Hope to see you soon again.
Fantastic. We'll keep in touch and we'll see how your research is progressing. Maybe we'll have you back again next year,
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Have a great one. And bye,
and
everybody.
You too. Bye. Bye-bye.